2.5 years ago. What do you think you would have done differently if you were governor?
Well, the governor wants you to believe that she did listen to the experts, but we have the letter from the Nursing Home Association that said, whatever you do, don't send COVID positive patients into nursing homes. And yet the governor did. When Andrew Cuomo even backed off of this, Governor Whitmer doubled down. She even tried to hide the final report of the numbers of how many deaths we had. In fact, she's tried to hide a lot from this pandemic. She tried to hide, or she did hide, effectively, why her Department of Health and Human Services director left. In fact, she even paid him off with a secrecy agreement. The same with unemployment. What a debacle to have $8.5 billion fraudulently sent out. Now I've got people bringing bills from the state up to me, begging me to forgive the unemployment that she's trying to get out back because she accidentally sent $8.5 billion out. And what about our students that she kept locked out of schools and wouldn't listen to parents when they begged her to let them play? Let them play. She wouldn't even listen.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rescue Michigan Weekly live stream. Joining me once again tonight is Shane Trejo, and with us again is Patty P, who joined us for the first time as we watched the governor's debate this past Thursday.
Hi, guys.
How's everyone doing tonight? We are streaming live on, as usual, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And as is the new norm, YouTube may not be around for much longer. But those of you who are on YouTube, feel free to say hello and check in. And at some point, we're going to probably switch to just streaming on Facebook and Rumble, where free speech are respected, at least for now on Facebook. I don't really know. I have a feeling
that's hit or miss, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen them like censor our videos. I don't know about our posts. And the thing is, you can never trust these people because they don't give you honest statistics. You just never really know. But folks in the chat, we are streaming live on Rumble, so feel free to say hello. Hello, Tim, watching on Facebook. 3 weeks left to go. How are you guys feeling? It's been pretty turbulent these past couple of weeks, but I think things seem to be moving in our direction. And
it feels like it.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate that because there's no way for the Democrats they have nowhere to go, really. I mean, they've had the airwaves completely saturated for the past month and a half, and I don't see how they're going to reach anybody they haven't already reached.
I mean, they've hitched their wagon to abortion, and that's about it, right? They have nothing else to run on.
Yeah, and I think that the fervor on the abortion issue, it lasted a while. I think it's finally subsided. People are realizing that the inflation and the economic woes are here to stay. The economy has not bounced back. The inflation's gotten worse. Gas prices have gone up from they were down into like the maybe 50s, 360s a month ago. Now it's back into like the mid $4 in the Detroit area. So it's gotten worse, and people, I think, are realizing that, the Democrats need to be rebuked. And, I would have put us, let's say the ticket, at, very low percentage, a single digit percentage. But I think, 20-30% chance we can pull this off, and trending upward from there too. So there's no reason not to be involved and not go hard and try to build on the momentum that seems to be in our favor right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the big thing's going to be whether or not people can be effective, and that we can use our limited time, talent, and treasure to reach the most voters in the shortest amount of time. So I don't know. Patty and I watched the debate on Thursday. Folks in the chat, let me know what your guys' thoughts were on the debate. Because now we've had some time to sleep on it. I still think, my reaction after the debate was over was I thought Tudor did a very good job. But as the couple of days have gone by, I feel more and more disappointed that she didn't really slam hard on Prop 3. Because that was something that Whitmer served up to her. She said, I'm going to vote for Proposal 3, and this is great, and blah, blah, blah. And that was her opportunity to really force the issue about what Proposal 3 actually was. And say, no, this isn't just every single most extreme abortion measure there ever was. This is also child sexual mutilation is in there. And had she done that, the media would have had no choice but to address it. And I wish she had done that. But even still, I think it was still a very good debate. I think that clip we saw was the best moment of it. Leroy Decker says, my candidate Jim DeSanta for the 29th district against Alex Garza has primetime ads against our campaign. Of course, it was about abortion. Take it as a compliment that we're right over the target. Leroy, do you mean Jim has ads or Alex Garza has ads against you. And if it's about abortion, yeah, I mean, but there's two aspects to this, I think. One is that abortion is not the issues that voters care about the most. In fact, I saw this really interesting poll. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm pretty sure I can. Let's see here. Hold on one sec. Yeah, here we go. Let me pull this up on screen. This was a poll where first they asked, what do you say are the most important issues facing the country today? And the top three issues are inflation, the economy, and immigration. Then they asked, what do you think the Republicans think are the biggest issues? And they say immigration, inflation, and the economy. Then they ask, what do you think Democrats think are the most important issues? And they say January 6th, women's rights, the environment, and guns, which is a great message in terms of how their priorities are so out of whack.
Oh my gosh.
And this is showing you folks.
So they actually asked people this, and these were actual results?
Yeah. So the first question was, wow, what issues do you say are most important? The second question is, what issues are Republican Party leaders most concerned with? And the third question is, what issues are Democrat Party leaders most concerned with? Which just goes to show how out of step they are.
They don't know. Do you remember they did some poll back in the times of COVID, and they asked Democrats, and they thought that if you got COVID 60% of the time, you're going to end up in the hospital. They were completely clueless of like the reality.
Yeah.
So,
but I think after COVID and the whole Black Lives Matter thing, where everyone was rolling over to the mob as they were burning down cities, and Russiagate, and the whatever else they've done, where they've gotten the public to believe complete, absolute, abjectly false, absurd lies. They think that they can just shovel anything down the mouths of the American people, and then they'll buy it and they'll love it and they'll run with it. So that's going to be put to the test in November. But obviously they're going to be doing some ballot harvesting, ballot stuffing, that kind of thing to try to pad their chances of winning on election day. So maybe that's just what they're relying on.
Yeah, and Leroy writes to clarify, yeah, the ads are running against his candidate for Alex Garza, and abortion is the issue that they're using. So I think what Republicans are trying to do in general is just avoid the issue and focus on the issues that voters care about: inflation, the economy, immigration, that kind of stuff, which is, on one hand, I think makes sense. On the other hand, I also think it's kind of a pattern for the Republicans not to take on issues they feel threatened by. And I think in this case, if they just were messaging smartly about this and say, look, the Democrats are taking the most extremist view on abortion we've ever heard of, which is much more extreme than what the average voter supports, then they could turn that around and turn a negative into a positive. And I think that's even more powerful. But they're not. I mean, I guess Republicans aren't doing that. I think our grassroots people really need to. I think if we expose to people what Proposal 3 really is and how out of step it is with what people believe, then that's going to have a powerful effect across the entire ticket. Also, by the way, on Rumble, I'm sorry, if you guys want to say something?
Oh yeah, one thing I'll say is that Republicans are hearing from their campaign consultants, the politicians are hearing from their campaign consultants that the abortion issue is a loser, drop it, obfuscate. Don't take a clear opinion on it, dance around it, and when they should be addressing it head on, as you said, and pointing out how radical the Democrats' positions are. But unfortunately, the consultant class will tell them not to take a principled stand on the issue, even if it will end up killing them or hurting them, hurting their chances at some point. Or hurting the country. They'll encourage that, just like they encourage. Frank Luntz came in and encouraged all the Republican politicians in Lansing to go along with Gretchen Whitmer's shutdown policies because of some fabricated polling data. The Republican politicians will go along with that, with the exception of a handful of America First people, almost every time, because that's where the money's at.
Yeah, when I worked in Lansing, from like every year or so, they'd have Frank Luntz do a session with the lawmakers and tell them what they should and shouldn't message on. And I think I told my boss, just don't even go to these things. This guy's a complete idiot.
Is that Jim? What's his name's roommate?
Oh yeah.
Kevin McCarthy's roommate. Right? Oh, okay.
They're besties. Yeah, Kevin McCarthy and Frank Luntz have been roommates for years.
Yeah, I think Shane, you did some whole expose on Frank Luntz a year or two ago. I think.
Yeah, I think it had to do with him telling the Republicans to, message poorly on COVID data, and not go on the offense and fight for liberty during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I think that's what it pertained to. But I've hit Luntz a lot on a lot of different kind of things. He's just one of those guys who is just like a boil on the backside of our politics, and he never goes away, no matter how many times he's been wrong, no matter how many times he's been discredited, because he's not a real pollster. He's there to manipulate public opinion, and his masters find what he does as propaganda operation to be very useful. So he keeps getting those 6-7 figure checks every year.
Yeah, he's good at persuading Republicans, like, what I want you to say is what's going to win, so let's do that. And of course, they all bite at that. But that's, of course, often not the case. And Trump really proved that when he ran on an America First immigration policy and America First foreign policy. Everything Luntz told him not to do is what turned out to be the winning formula.
Winner, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, on Rumble, Mary Henman says, I think Dixon was too soft on Whitmer. Should go for the jugular next debate. Whitmer has given her so much ammo, one and done. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Tudor was not negative on Whitmer. I think she was good on going on offense. It's just I think she could have gone even harder, frankly.
Yeah, I think that was a strategy from someone I know who's kind of tight with that campaign. Like, they didn't want to turn some people off in the middle, like, versus some people more on the ultra MAGAs who, like to go hardcore.
Yeah, but I mean, one of the things I thought in the debate too is both of them, Whitmer more so than Dixon, but Dixon too, tended to try to get into the policy details and putting out factoids and things like that, rather than go to the big picture issues. She did that a few times, talking about how Whitmer's vetoed more bills than anybody else has, but talking about the fact that we've never had a governor literally attack the entire separation of powers, declare herself dictator, have to have courts intervene and say that she sees power she doesn't have the constitutional right to.
Yeah, and do you remember her quote after that? I don't care. I don't care what the Supreme Court says.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then she turned around and weaponized the health department.
Yeah. Yeah, these are things that Peter could have smashed on even harder, I think. Carol Wynn says, we are absolutely out educating the evils of Proposal 3. There was a prayer rally in Lansing yesterday with a huge distribution of flyers and signs to inform voters about the evils of 3. Good. We're glad to hear it. And of course, we've distributed thousands of flyers that we printed up, and you can also download our flyers on Prop 3 as well, which, for my money, is still the best flyers out there. But speaking of that, let's take a look. Our new flyer on Dana Nessel is done. You can download them if you go to our homepage. It's actually in the link where there's the Gretchen Whitmer flyers. We added them to the page here, and we just emailed this out today. But we'll update the homepage as well so people can see it. Because this is also where you can go to download or order boxes of flyers attacking Gretchen Whitmer. We've looked at these in the past, but there is a new one out now about Dana Nessel. This one is especially designed for people to print from home. So it's got a white background. It's cheap and easy to print. You can, of course, also get them printed at your local print shop. And if you guys want us to do an actual glossy print run of these, and maybe even do them in that black background style, so drop us a line. Let us know if you're interested in that. We'll see what we can do about that. But just to show you what we have here, this is, I think, it shows you a lot of our mentality and how to frame the issue and really go for the jugular on some of these campaigns. So we got a two-sided flyer, which is on one hand, both hard-hitting, but also I think what a lot of political flyers lack, which is humor and condescension. So we got this picture of Dana Nessel here with the bloodshot eyes, and of course we've got the picture of her passed out at the Michigan State game, where she had to go home. She actually said in her Twitter feed she had only 2 drinks, She drank 2 Bloody Marys on an empty stomach, but she had to go home before she would have thrown up on a constituent. She actually did tweet that out. She deleted the tweet, but of course, everything on the internet is forever. So side one, talking about, I think, some of the biggest things that people will be really angry with Nessel about. One is that she actually torments people she goes after, talking about the business owners that she shut down, including one where she complained that she appeared on Tucker, underscoring the political motivations about things. The fact that she fired a special prosecutor going after the Flint cover up and then ended up having all the charges against the people dismissed. The Supreme Court threw out the case, said it was a Star Chamber comeback because Nessel could not help herself in making a political stink out of it. And then, of course, covering up the nursing home deaths, where an Auditor General report found 2,386 more long-term care COVID deaths than Whitmer's office actually tallied.
Yeah, LaDuff has been hitting that one hard for a long time.
Good.
Yeah.
Bill Hamilton says, did you see all on Hannity on Fox show Tudor and Whitmer tied at 44%? I've seen some polls saying that they're tied. I've seen polls I trust less saying that that Whitmer is up. But the fact is, all that goes to show, folks, is that we got to do everything we possibly can.
Yep.
Really, really get the word out.
Yeah, you can't trust the polls, but I think it does show that it's not over till it's over. Whitmer is not as popular as she's made out to be. The policies that she's enacted are, have been, wildly unpopular among the people. So, people are not. She's not like an overwhelmingly popular leader whose lead is insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination. So we have to get out there, open people's eyes, and make sure she loses. And Bill was nice seeing you this weekend as well.
Yeah. I was going to also show off side 2 about our Nessel flyer, which talks about her strange obsession with children and sex. We put this all on one side of the flyer to really go hard about this. But first, hey, on Facebook, Melissa Carone writes, Dixon did great, vote Republican. Please don't vote U.S. Taxpayers Party. I tried and couldn't get off the ballot with Donna Brandenburg. I fully support Dixon. Melissa, thank you so much for saying that. That's an amazing thing. I don't know if that's the first time you've ever said that, but if it is, then that's a huge news item. And if this is your first time, wow, thank you for saying so. If you haven't already done so, I would encourage you to make a news release about that. But Melissa, thank you for that. That's a great sign. And look, I'll be the first to say that sometimes going to the third parties is what you have to do when the Republican establishment is not listening to us on our issues. But we have, I think, the most conservative Republican ticket we've ever had in this state. And this is not the year to say that we need to make the perfect the enemy of the good. So, Melissa, we salute you for saying that.
And I know Melissa has been going door to door in Macomb to support the Republican ticket. So, very glad that she's doing that and helping the great operation that's going on in Macomb out there to get out the vote. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, or maybe a handful of us, I know I did. I came from the Libertarian Party. That's how I got my start as a Libertarian Party member. And, just dealing with that for several years, it's you're never going to accomplish anything in a third party in the system unless, maybe a Ross Perot, someone who's rich and has a profile who could run as third party. But why do that? Trump made it actually happen by kind of doing that same outsider thing, but just running as a Republican. So if you're an outsider, just run as a Republican like Ron Paul did, like Trump did. That's the way to go. And the Republican fold has opened up. It's way different than it was, even 10 years ago during the Tea Party era. It's opened up, wildly since then. And it's become, at least among the constituents, a solidly America First party. And that's resonating upward, into our politics at every level. So there's something to do through the Republican Party. There's good work that is to be done. And, just because, there are rhinos out there who do still have power, we have to, generationally, year after year, decade after decade, keep fighting these people, keep grinding them down until they're out of politics for good, because that's what they did to take over, whether it was the neocons in the Republican Party or the far left over the Democrats and supplanting liberalism with, far left Marxist ideology. They did the long march through the institutions. They were diligent. They worked behind the scenes, and that's how they gained power. So we have to show the same initiative, or we're going to lose and deserve to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. Melissa's ads, I've been trying to put out as much as possible. Please get it out as much as possible. Thank you again, Melissa, for doing that. We really do appreciate you saying so. And to your point, Shane, yeah, I mean, of course, I was an old Ron Pauler, and he ran as the Libertarian for president in 1988. And I don't know if he's actually said this publicly. I don't think he would, but privately, I've heard him say like that was a big mistake for him to do that. And because it haunted him, in his presidential campaigns. And the fact is that we can litigate any issue between the two parties. I mean, the Republican Party was the party of open borders and interventionist wars 10 years ago. And Trump changed that in a huge way. And as I think the two parties are going towards increasingly polar opposites, it's becoming the Democrats are the party of everything wrong, and the Republicans are slowly, begrudgingly, perhaps becoming the party of the good guys. So it's, that's something that the more of us that are engaged in the GOP, the more that things are going to continue to trend that direction. And of course, that's what we see happening now between the Trump wing of the party and the never Trumpers, who are the old, neoconservative establishment. Tim Kuhn says Hillary was ahead by 12 the weekend before Bernie crushed her in the 2016 presidential primary. Yeah, I mean, the polls, you can't trust the polls, but given everything else that we also know is going to happen. By the way, do you guys have any speculation about what the October surprise might be? Because we haven't seen a huge thing.
We're halfway through, yeah.
But I'm embracing myself, frankly.
Well, I saw, you've seen a few things. I know, like they did. They had Herschel Walker's son come out against them, or in Georgia. So they've had, certain things that have been done, but nothing like on a grand scale, nothing too major has happened yet. But we'll probably
nuclear war.
Maybe the nuke will be dropped.
In the back of my mind, I'm honestly worried that there's going to be some kind of nuclear false flag type thing in Ukraine in the next couple of weeks. Because they're getting desperate. I mean, the talk we're hearing from at least the sources that I trust about the Ukraine conflict is Ukraine wants desperately, they're being pressured to make some kind of victory happen between now and election day. They can say the policies are going well in Ukraine. And I don't see those materializing. And I think there's nothing they wouldn't do. There's nothing they wouldn't do.
Yeah.
It hasn't, but hey, the TV's told me that Putin's lost and it's over for the Russians.
They've been telling us that since February, haven't they, though?
Yeah, it's over.
I can't believe it's still going on. It's crazy.
He's out of missiles. He's out of missiles. Russia's going to be out of missiles in 3 days. You've heard that.
The propaganda is nauseating, but people still buy it. And you go in the field and you still see people flying Ukraine flags all over. It's stupefying.
Yeah, I'm amazed to see segments of the conservative circles buy into some of this stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Even like Steven Crowder, and people are like, "Oh yeah, Putin's an evil dictator." It's like, have you noticed the same people telling you this are the same people that have told you everything else that's been false for the last 4 years?
Yeah, that's why I stick with Robert Barnes. He seems to be right on a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and on his recommendation too, I've been following the Duran is really excellent for Ukraine coverage. The New Atlas is another one.
Mm-hmm.
But
the gray zone is another great outlet for that kind of stuff. Yeah,
and Gonzalo Lira, who's actually living in her son. He had a roundtable yesterday with is it Ian Miles Chong? Did I get that name right, or is it Miles Ian Chong?
I think Ian Miles is right.
Okay, that's right. These people with these two names is confusing. But no, he interviewed with him and with Michael Tracy yesterday, and it got pretty ugly between him and Michael Tracy.
I like Michael Tracy too. I mean, generally, if you if the pundit or journalist or commentator is not being called a Russian asset by someone, then they're not doing a good job these days of covering foreign affairs.
Yeah. Well, they had quite a confrontation, but you guys can watch that on your own time, because Tracy was questioning the legitimacy of the elections, and they really got into heated discussion about things. Anyway, all that aside, back to the real world, the stuff that we can actually do something about. So this is side 2 of our Dana Nessel flyer. You guys have seen it on the screen for a little while now. Let me try to zoom out just a little bit so you guys can see. And again, the humor is important. The caricature of Dana Nessel here Some people think this is a cheap shot. I think saying things like perverted weirdo Dana Nessel is important. It really is, because it gets to the essence of things in a way that coming across as angry and afraid doesn't play as well as making fun of her. And this is actually a tweet she did post. Or actually, this is not a tweet. This is a live statement.
Video, yeah.
In a real event. Drag queens make everything better. Drag queens are fun. A drag queen for every school. So this whole side of the flyer is about Dana Nessel's obsession with sex and children. So here
did you draw that caricature?
No, I paid someone to do it.
Okay, nice.
I don't have that gift. But the artist did a great job, I think. But anyway, so we've got some photos of some drag queens in some classrooms here. Dana Nessel's call for a drag queen in every school would be a sick joke, not for the fact that drag queens are mobilizing to infiltrate children in Michigan schools, and there's the photos to prove it. And a jab at Prop 3, something
That's good. Nice.
Something that
can't jab that enough.
Yeah. Nessel endorsed Proposal 3, which would create a right for children to change their sex without their parents' knowledge or consent. We've got the penis ad from 2018 there. In case anyone forgot that. I have been saying since 2018, Tom Leonard needed to have used that. And here's one I think people probably forgot about. This will be a new thing for a lot of people. This was an actual tweet that Nessel made literally in the height of COVID, April 2nd, 2020. Remember, the lockdown started on March 16th, 2020. So 2 weeks in, this is 15 days to stop this, to slow the spread. This is everyone's locked down. Don't leave your home. Don't leave the state. Don't go to work. Dana Nessel tweets, "Am I the only one who regrets not totally liquidating my 401k and investing the whole thing into the business that manufactures real dolls?" Which, for those in the audience that don't know, that Real Dolls are a life-size sex doll company. That's what those are. That's what Dana Nessel was thinking about as all of Michigan was wondering where to buy toilet paper.
Well, isn't she the one who allowed the gay bar with the glory holes to remain open while the churches were shut down? The Lansing Glory Hole establishment to stay open while
you could be right about that.
Down.
I don't remember.
Pretty sure it was Nessel. That was the work. That was the handiwork of Dana.
Yeah. And finally, to close off this page, Nessel also said the bloated sex offender registry was too punitive. And she actually argued that, the sex offender registry should be private. The public shouldn't have access to it. Sex offenders should be allowed to live and work near schools, attend school sporting events, choir concerts, and carnivals, because it makes it difficult for offenders to rehabilitate and reintegrate into the community because they're limited in where they can live, work, or even attend their children's school functions, because that's what sex offenders should be allowed to do, is attend children's school functions. So yeah, and by the way, because I see Leroy says these pictures are diabolical. Yeah, they are, and voters need to see them. They need to know what's really going on in this world, because a lot of people don't see it. So that's why that's there. So if you guys want these flyers, we're not selling them. They're just free. Download them yourself. They're on our website. Just go to the homepage, the Gretchen Whitmer flyers page. We added it to here. We'll also make it clearer that on the homepage, that link to where you can also download the Gretchen Whitmer flyers, also has the Dana Nessel flyers as well, and look for the Jocelyn Benson flyer coming out in the near future. Of course, our Gretchen Whitmer flyers, we still have them. Gave out thousands of them. In fact, 3 lucky winners that got bingo at the watch party got their flyers.
Debate bingo.
Actually, one of them I had to mail. The other 2 I got to drop off last night. So yeah, box of 1,000 of them. A buddy of mine told me he has been flyering parking lots with these, and just boom, 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 boom. 100 of them get handed out in 5 minutes. And that's a great thing that you guys can do. And, you know, someone asked me about going to attend a sign waving rally in a few days. And this person knows where I live, and that this sign wave rally was like an hour from my house. Folks, waving signs on a street corner is not the best use of your time. If you've got 25 people that are going to get together and stand on a street corner and wave signs, for what? I mean, how much information are you going to be able to convey to a voter as they're driving by? You'll see people that are supporting you and are going to honk, but they're the ones who are going to vote your way anyway. But think what 25 people could do in 1 hour's time, fanning out and hitting every single car in a parking lot with a hard-hitting flyer about what Gretchen Whitmer or Dana Nessel or Jocelyn Benson has done to our state. Or for that matter, we've sold out of them, but you can also download our proposal flyers. We've got those right here too. We've got a nice little one-pager that covers all three of them. Easy to print from home.
Did you fix the typo on that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
We've got the one about the abortion proposal. That's right there. And we've got a G-rated version that doesn't have the nasty pictures on it. Although, again, the nasty pictures tell the story. And we've got the one about the election fraud proposal, too. You can get them on a white background if you want. You can hand these out by the dozens, by the hundreds. And that's what we need to do.
That's what we need to do. I think about how many man hours we waste doing things like that. Yeah. I mean, how many doors could we knock? How much outreach could we really have?
Yeah. And you've been hitting doors in a way that too few people have. And that's one of the reasons why we're happy to have on your show, Patty, because it's tough to get people to do it for the first time.
It's hard. I mean, well, I don't say it's hard. The first few, it is, I was a little tongue tied, I guess, but you kind of get used to it and you're speaking about something you're so passionate about. And most people are very informed about, obviously, if you're a delegate or, actively involved. And so it just comes easy. And when you're right, I mean, and I hate to say it, but when you're right, it comes easy too. And I mean, in this instance, I think we're just right, And
another thing is that, the first few times you go, might be some awkwardness. It's hard to get started, I guess, because, you're going up to people's doors. You think they're going to be hostile, but 99% of the time they are not hostile. They're at the,
I was surprised.
They're, they appreciate that there's someone who cares passionately about these issues. And oftentimes they don't know what the hell is going on. They're so confused by the propaganda that if someone can show up at their door, talk to them with clarity on the issues, they will be swayed and they will vote a different way than they otherwise would before, just from having the conversation with you. And you'll find some hardcore person who will start talking to you about, everything that you believe in, and they're super, engaged, and they're listening to the same media outlets as you. And then boom, you have your new activists there. So that's how you build a political movement. And that's how the left has done it. And we need to do the same. And I am seeing more grassroots people in the field than I think ever before. There's been, a lot of enthusiasm. But when we look at the numbers and the people who are still sitting on the sidelines for the America First movement in Michigan, so much more could be done. If everyone, did their fair share, so to speak, we would be able to hit every door multiple times. But a lot of people are disenfranchised. A lot of people think that it's futile, it's hopeless. The only way that it'll be hopeless is if you adopt that mindset and give up. The government is freaking out. They're panicking. They're instituting this repression because they want to suppress what we're doing so bad. So we have to redouble our efforts. We can't buy into the propaganda that wants to demoralize us and have us on the sidelines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the polls are showing this election is within reach. And it's a matter of people getting out and being effective and knocking on as many doors as they can.
Yeah, stop hanging out in our little echo chambers like we like to do, and this event and come here and come there. It's like, what is that accomplishing?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired of events in general, but especially this time of year. I mean, the only events we should be doing are organizing door knocks.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we shouldn't be spending hours in Lansing or, anywhere. I mean, no.
Yeah, I mean, the demonstrations in general, like when they're in Lansing or Washington even, like, how much time people are spending getting there, getting together, typically having being preached to as a choir, and the time that it takes up. And often when they have these protests, it's when there's nobody even in the building. I think they'll go to Lansing on a weekend when the lawmakers aren't even in town. Mm-hmm. When what they really fear is you guys being in their districts, knocking on doors, making more voters upset. Leroy Decker says, God provides quoting St. Augustine, God provide the winds, it is men who must hoist the sails. Translation: lit, drop, and knock doors. Exercise your human agency. Yep. In another similar sentiment in Proverbs, the horse is made ready for the day of battle, but the outcome is of the Lord. And you guys are the horses. You need to be going into battle, and this is the time. It's not next year. It's not next month. It's right now.
No, right. Even, we're getting organized and ramping up. I think we're doing a really good job over here on this side of town. And like, oh, great, we'll be really organized in 2 years. Well, 2 years, we don't have a governor election. You know what I mean? This is crucial. Like, we have to the next 3 weeks are critical.
Yeah.
And then people really need to think, like, why did I become a delegate? When I'm calling and texting and emailing delegates and they're not replying,
there will be people who will be around in 2 years who are going to gain experience from what they have done in this election cycle. But the thing is, folks, and I've seen this for year after year, is people come and people go. And people think, oh, this election's the big one. And then they don't get the outcome they wanted. And they think it's all hopeless and they disappear and go away. And then in 2 years, there'll be a new crop of people who are here for their first time. And it's like we're starting all over again.
Yeah.
And
I think like half 25 to 40%, maybe the delegates are new. This is their first timers. I'm a first timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are certainly glad that you're here and glad for everyone who's here for their first time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a challenge, whether we win or lose, either way, to get people to realize this battle never really ends. It just keeps on going. But it's
I would say that it's way more than 25 to 40%. I'd say it's well over 50% of people who are new delegates. And we've got waves and waves of new people, and they showed up because they're, Charlie Kirk told them to, or Steve Bannon, or someone similar. People are heeding the call, and it's very encouraging to see. It's what we've been, trying to do since, we're doing this exact same thing during the Ron Paul era. So, the amount of numbers we have now is astounding.
Just trying to get them, though, as first timers, we have a few more experienced people that are kind of helping, and to understand, like, well, that's your job. Like, your job is to inform your precinct, to represent your precinct, to win your precinct for our side. Like, and that's been my message for like 2-3 months, as I'm reaching out to people and trying to get them involved. And as delegates, and my other message is precinct delegates are not volunteers. It's the job you were elected to do.
Right.
And I think that people need to realize that, like, we're part of a team. Like, you got to pull your weight.
Yeah. And certainly, if nothing else, anybody, even now, can still knock on the doors in their precinct. You can contact your city or township clerk's office and get daily reports of absentee ballots that are going out and reach out to those voters. You can go to our website and get your precinct walking list. If you go to rescuemichigan.com, you sign up, log in. You can be prompted to acquire your precinct voter file. And for every precinct in Michigan, we can obtain these lists that have literally every single likely household of general election voters minus the total Democrat households. You can download them. You can print them out. You can organize them by street. You've got phone numbers. You can call them on the phone, talk to them, organize to go out, knock on doors in pairs, and really reach these people and let them know of the issues, because they're not hearing from the mass media. That's for sure. And, and just my precinct is actually kind of on the large side, and 720 households, well, 50 a day, you can get that done. Bill Hamilton asks, how's the opposition to the Oakland County transit tax going? Shane, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that. I'm not sure. I don't live in Oakland.
Okay. Yeah, we are looking to have a press conference this week, or more of a town hall, actually, where we're going to have municipal leaders and others really outlining the many problems with the transit tax, and we're going to be doing what we can to get the word out about that press conference, and inviting the media and making as big of a stink as possible. So we're doing everything that we can to defeat it, and word is getting out. We got call teams, we got texts, we got robocalls going out. So we're doing everything that we can in our power to defeat this monstrosity.
Excellent. All right, let's I want to talk about election day operations for a little bit. and that's a good time, I think, to hang up on YouTube since we are streaming on all three places. And talking about election day things is certainly something that YouTube is hostile to. We don't want to have our channel banned. And even though their standards are quote unquote denying the 2020 election, we've had channel strikes for less, and we've appealed them and won, but it's just too much of a pain to deal with. YouTube is not a worthwhile streaming partner. They're not a reliable partner. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can find us at facebook.com/Rescue Michigan Coalition, or you can go to our Rumble channel, rumble.com, and then just search for Rescue Michigan. You'll find our channel over there. So bye-bye YouTube, and